Back in 1982, Nakamichi set a standard for cassette decks with the Nakamichi Dragon, and all the other companies started chasing after them. And several companies, including Sony and JVC, actually exceeded the Nakamichi Dragon in terms of performance, record and play performance. One of them was the JVC TD-V1010, and I have one here today. Check this one out. This is a relatively rare deck. This is a JVC TD-V1010. It is a 3-head, dual capstan, direct drive cassette deck with Dolby VC and HX Pro Super Digifine multi-mode vacuum fluorescent display. These are quite sought after decks. One listed for sale right
Specs
now
on
for
these,
$2,149 Canadian
20
dollars.
to 22 kilohertz. Even with the chrome tape, 20 to 20 kilohertz. Neat deck. Let's take a look at the head block on this thing. So there's the head block, dual capstan. Get your erase head here, record head, and playback head. This unit is in pretty good shape. And incidentally, this is my deck. If you want to know what I paid for this deck, I'll tell you. That much. I got this deck free. Don't even know if it works yet. But we're going to do a quick service on it, check it out, and see if there's anything that needs to be done to it. Incidentally, this unit weighs about 23 pounds, 10.3 kilograms. So we've got separate circuit boards in here, all mounted on a copper frame. This is the playback board. Notice the preamp. I think this might be the Dolby IC actually. Can't tell because they've got a strip of copper over top of it. That's to shield the chip. But this is the playback board. The record board is this board below. There's the record level control, sealed. Power supply board is here. Switch detection board. And the direct drive motor right down here. The secondary capstan is belt driven from the main capstan. As you can see, the motor is running. One thing that does need attention on this unit is it has a surface mounted electrolytic cap right there. That's one that probably should be changed, even though it's working now. That's one that probably should be swapped out. One thing to note is that this deck has a solid piece of particle board to the base of it. This is to reduce any resonance in the chassis, to dampen out any resonance. So they stuck a big block of wood on the base of it just to give it some extra rigidity, to cancel out vibration from possibly getting in and distorting the tape. To access the bottom, remove the screws, that one, the ones down the side here, and the bottom cover just lifts off. Talk about accessibility. Love it. And by the way, this base weighs about 10 pounds. They're not fooling around on this. It's solid with a big chunk of wood on the back. So I want to access the motor without actually removing it from the unit itself. So I'm going to remove the 4 screws that hold the back plate on. That way I should be able to take the stator assembly off, but leave the rotors in place. The belt looks to be in good shape. It's not stretching or anything. It's got good torque. I mean, these belts are designed to slip because obviously if the belt is too tight, it's going to chew up your tape. It's designed so that the entry side capstan is running ever so slightly slower than the side pulling it through on the exit side, on the playback side. And that's to keep the tension correct, but you don't want too much torque on here. You want it to be able to slip slightly. So that is good. Belt is the flywheel is looking good here. So I'm going to remove these 4 screws, and that should remove this back plate so that I can access that surface mounted capacitor to change it. I think there's just the one If I'm not mistaken, there's only one on here that I need to worry about. Get in here with my little teeny turner, at least to loosen the screws, and then I'll use my other screwdriver. Use my other number 0 screwdriver to get in there and remove them now that they're loose. And there it is. That's the cap I want to change right there. It's a 10 microfarad at 16 volts. It looks like this one was already changed. And that should take care of the service issues that may crop up down the road on this one. I'm going to turn on my soldering iron into the plug there. Give me a little bit more room to work on it. This is the frequency generator here. For the servo, there's a little frequency generator coil on the actual rotor itself, so we want to be careful not to damage that. And there's some on here. These are Hall effect devices, which are used to determine whether the motor is rotating. There's 3 of them, right? 1, 2, and 3 for the 3 phases. That's to tell the servo IC what position the motor's in, so that it will spin the motor. And the frequency generator here, this one is used to count the pulses, so that there's a feedback for the servo to lock in the speed. So now the soldering iron should be up to temperature. I should be able just to remove this bad cap, or it's not bad yet, but it will be at some point. So might as well deal with that now while I've got the machine apart. There we go. New cap in place. Now we can put the motor back together. Also, for changing the belt, this is how you would do it. You'll just take the motor apart just like this. Put the motor back in place, plug in the power for it. And then the motor itself just goes back together. Make sure there's no wires in the way. Just goes back together just like that. To make sure that nothing's going to rub. There we go. And I can put the screws back in. I'm not tightening them tight at this point. I'm just putting them in so I can get them all centered, and then I'll give them a torque, a little bit of a snug torque. They don't have to be tightened that tight because they do have lock washers on them, so they're not going to come out on their own. Just want to get all 4 of them threaded in, and then I'll give them like a I'll put them all snug, and then just give them like a eighth of a turn or so once they're all in place. And then I put my little teeny turner on here again and just give them just a little bit more of a turn. And then we can test this thing out and see how it sounds. And I guarantee you this thing's going to sound incredible. Guys, it was claimed to be one of the best sounding cassette decks that you could buy, and it was not a cheap deck. These ones here went for about $1,000 or more when they were sold. They listed around 800 US at the time. This is going back to I think it was 1988 was when these ones were made, and it's made in Japan, obviously. I was looking to see if there's a date on this thing. I believe it was 88. They didn't make these ones very long. They only made them for like 2 years. So they are quite a rare deck to find. You don't see these ones come up that often for that reason, because they are considered to be one of the better decks that you could buy at any price. Okay, let's just see how this thing, if this thing's working. I got it sitting off the desk a bit here just because the door won't open properly without the bass on. Okay, that's playing back something that's already on the tape. Let's just see how it records. Record and play. This is actually playback, by the way, because it's a 3-head deck, so we're in tape mode. Source and tape. Play. Damn, that sounds good. Dolby B, Dolby C. Dolby off. I don't know if you guys can see on the meter, but I'm going to +6, +8, and it's coming back. You guys can see that I'm not with the lights on in here, but source, tape. Wow. You guys want to hear this direct, I know it. So let me plug this in and I'll let you hear playback from the playback head.
All right, this is playback from the playback head.
And I'll tell you, this came from a buddy of mine. I've known him for almost 40 years now. Very good friend of mine who gave me this unit. That other capstan or the capstan drive capstan drive cap that was on the board there, they said it had been replaced. I was just talking to him on the phone because he dropped it off today when I was at work. And I said, yeah, I had to change a cap in there. I said, it looked like one of them had already been changed. And he goes, yeah, you dumbass. He said, you changed it back when you worked at the shop, like 25 years ago. So that would explain why the other cap was changed. I did that 25 years ago. I totally forgot. I was thinking, I think I'd only seen like 1 or 2 of these decks ever, because they were not very common. They don't really have a heck of a lot that goes wrong with them. So I'm going to put this thing back together. This is going in my collection, so don't ask. It's not for sale. This is going to my collection. And I'll sell the other ones I've got, right? All my other tape decks and stuff. Yeah, if it's a good piece, I keep it, right? If it's something that's a legacy piece like this, I'll keep it in my collection. And this one's going in my collection. So let's button this one back up. There it is, looking from the bottom. Yes, it's beautiful. Very nice. Bottom cover just sits on it like that. And easy to service too. That's one of the nice things about some decks, is that they are relatively easy to service. Now, which screws came out of where? There's one wood screw or one self-tapping screw, and the rest of them are all metal. I think the self-tapper came out of that one, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't paying attention when I took it apart, or when I removed the screws.
And then there's nightmare decks like the Techniques RSM 275. We won't go there. It is a joke to work on.
Because I was actually, when I was taking the base off, that's when I was talking to my buddy that gave it to me. Anyway, my buddy that gave me this thing, he was telling me he was, at the time, he was working at London Drugs. And he was always talking to the JVC reps. And he'd had his eye on this thing. He bought it right from JVC. Cheap. Like, he said he only paid a couple $100 for this. Like, I think he told me he paid $400 for this thing. This unit's retail for $12.99 in Canada. And but he bought it cheap. Like, I used to buy Sony stuff that was discontinued. I used to be able to buy Sony ES products like at a fraction of the cost. I bought a CDP, CDP 555 ES for, I think I paid either $300 or $400 for it, and I bought an SLM1 turntable for, I think I paid $250 for that SLM1, if you know what that was worth. We used to be able to buy stuff really cheap anyway. And he was telling me that, I was mentioning to him that the motor had been serviced on it, and he says to me, he says, well, you fixed the bloody thing. And I totally forgot about it. The top as well, heavy. It's got this, it's like a composite material stuck to the inside. This is to reduce any resonance, but that chassis nice. I like this copper heat sinks, copper chassis, copper shielding on the chips. Anyway, that's a look at my JVC TD-V1010 3-head deck. We'll try a recording on a standard tape. It has your standard line in and line out. It has a direct input and a CD direct, whatever the heck that means. But it's got 3 sets of inputs on the back. Line in, direct in, and CD direct. And they're switched from the front. You've got CD direct, direct, and a line input. So it's got a 3 input switch. I'll close the video off making another test recording once I've got it back together. For those of you that think that you might have seen something that didn't look right, like when I pressed play, it seemed like the VU meters were going up to like -8 before the music started. And you're wondering, what the heck was all that about? Well, that was my camera playing tricks. You see, when I plug it in to my amp, to the record outputs from my amp, the camera generates a phantom power to power ECM microphones. And there's a phantom voltage that is placed on the mini plug that plugs in. I do have a blocking capacitor and a matching network to match it from line level down to mic level, but there's still some noise that manages to creep back, and it registers on VU meters on some tape decks, and on this is one of them. I'll play it back directly without plugging the camera in now, and you'll see that there is no deflection on the meter when I press play. See? So if you're worried about that, when I hit play before and you saw a deflection on there, that's an artifact. It's just high. I think it's probably high frequency noise from the camera that's getting through. It's basically for phantom power for a microphone. You don't hear it in sound, but the meter picks it up. Anyway, that's my TD-V1010. This was what was known as the Dragon Slayer. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy it. This is now, look at that, solid bass for higher stability and low resonance. This thing weighs a ton. Anyway, thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now. Oh, I didn't show you the speed on here. The speed is dead on, so there's no point. The speed is exactly correct. Well, it's the 440 tone is playing at between 441, and it might flip to 4. It's splitting here. It's 441. It's close enough. It's close enough for me. I don't need to touch it. So that's why I didn't show it, because it's pretty much dead on. Thanks for watching.